we've kind of done this Brown's ticket resale market to death, so let's start on a new market now, the market for big screen TVs. In this market, I've got a supply curve, I've got a demand curve, and they cross right here at a price of $1,000 and a quantity of 600,000 TVs. So we say that's our equilibrium. Equilibrium price of $1,000, equilibrium quantity of 600. Now, that can't be all that we're doing with this model, right? What we can do with this model, where the power of this model comes in, is where we can start to think about changes in either the supply or the demand for this product, and then come up with a prediction about what's going to happen to price and quantity by considering where the new equilibrium is. So the procedure that we'll use in order to find the effect of one of these changes is first to think about whether it's the buyers or sellers that are going to be largely affected by this. If it's the sellers, then we'll say the supply curve is going to move. If it's the buyers, we say the demand curve is going to move. Next, we have to figure out which way it's going to move. It's always going to be to the left for a decrease, to the right for an increase. And you can remember that because our quantity is the thing that's increasing or decreasing when our supply or demand changes, and the quantity is always moving to the right as it increases, to the left as it decreases. Then after we move that curve, we find our new equilibrium price and quantity. Now, we're not going to know how far to move that curve. Your general rule of thumb is going to be move it far enough that it's convenient for you. My rule of thumb is move it far enough that I can jam an arrow in between the two curves. So let's see how this works with an example. Suppose there's a government ad campaign. The get your fat ass up off your couch and stop watching TV ad campaign. And let's imagine that we have this campaign actually work. There's someone out there who's better at marketing than me, can sell this better than I can. We have to think about how this is going to be modeled in our diagram. Okay, so let's go through those questions. Buyers or sellers? Who is it that directly cares about that? Well, it's the buyers of big screen TVs that are being directly affected, right? The sellers are going to care. The sellers are going to care because this affects how many TVs they can sell and at what price. But the buyers care because it's their behavior that's actually changing. They're being encouraged to get up off their couch and stop watching TV, and because of that, they don't need to buy as many big screen TVs as they did. So we would say that this causes a decrease in the demand for big screen TVs. How can we show that? We need to take this demand curve and shift it to the left. Okay, so we shift it to the left. There we go. We've got a new demand curve there. I've labeled it with D prime. I've shifted it far enough that I can jam an arrow in between. And now I've got a new equilibrium point. So let's trace out that new equilibrium. It occurs there, trace across and down. We probably don't have nice round numbers, but if we did, it looks like maybe about $900 and maybe about 450,000 TVs. But of course those numbers just depend on how far we moved this curve. So really all that we can say is that the equilibrium price falls and the equilibrium quantity falls.